Welcome in, everybody. Friday, September 12th, we're going to do a bit of a market rundown. I want to talk about some of the big marquee matchups in college football. We'll talk a little bit about NFL. We're going to get into what the market's been doing all week. We'll talk a little bit about maybe where we see some value, where we don't see some value, and we'll break it down. I want to make sure that when we're thinking about where we sit today in the market, obviously we try to tackle openers. We do this. We bet Monday, Sunday of last week, Tuesday. We don't really like to take a lot of positions this late in the week. And we'll talk about some of that why, some of the reasons why, but we'll get on it. We'll get to it on the other end.
Give a damn about a hater when I feel like it. Not today, not today, not today, not tomorrow. Get out my way, please. I'm trying to get paid. Not today.
All right, so we're going to talk about one of the coolest, things that I see one of the SEC teams do, which is Alabama actually scheduling some BS teams and, playing Wisconsin. This will be the second year that Alabama is going to play Wisconsin. And this game is really interesting. The market has really kind of done not that much with it. So I want to talk about what's been going on with this market on the sides, and talk about why we think that there's some resistance, because right now this is like a really big public favorite. You can see Circa opened this at 19 on Sunday, which is when the market opens, immediately shot up to 21, and then immediately got bought back down to the 20.5. So you're seeing a lot of resistance at the 20 and 21 for Wisconsin. You're seeing Wisconsin money come in at those levels. And here we are today. You can bet $50,000 on this game at Circa. We can see Bookmaker, Pinnacle, and Circa all have it at the 20 or 20.5. And that's really telling, quite frankly. When we look at the data of these teams, and this data is available free on our website if you want to go check it out. We obviously see Alabama in the power rating be more power rated than Wisconsin. We have Alabama about 13.5 points better than an average team, but Wisconsin actually hasn't played so terribly. We have them about 5.5 points better than an average team. Now, obviously, the opponents that these teams have had have not been the same. I think that the market's going to look back and kind of realize that Florida State's a lot better this year than maybe we thought they were going to be. When we look at offensive EPA per play, no doubt Alabama is going to take the cake. Rush EPA, actually Wisconsin's taking the cake there. So look for Wisconsin to potentially be running the ball. And then when we look at run rate over expected, even though Wisconsin is running the ball fairly well, they're throwing it about 3 or 2.5% more than average. On the defensive side of the ball, you could see here Alabama has a positive EPA per rush on defense. So again, likely that's how Wisconsin's going to attack this team. And when it comes to clock management, running the clock, that could be a big reason for Wisconsin potentially covering this game. When we actually look at the model, though, you could see we make it 20. So we think the market's got this one right. We're not really showing a lot of edge. Even in the best line in the market, we would lean towards, you can see here, 51.9 out of 105. We actually give this a positive 0.7% edge for Wisconsin. Now, it's not something I'm looking to run to bet, obviously, with an edge that small. And then when we zoom out and we think about this team as a market rating, we can see that Massey Peabody makes the spread about 16, SP plus about 17, FPI about 14, and we make it 19. So, you can see that the market leans pretty much all in the direction of Wisconsin / neutral. So I would really, really, really use some caution when thinking about Alabama here and it being such a public favorite. That 20.5, you'll think of this like a market, guys. If 20.5s are so valuable, why aren't they getting bet? And I'll give it a further nail in the coffin. Not only is it not getting bet, it got bet back every time this has hit 21. So every time we've gotten to plus 21, it's gotten bought, right? All the way up to yesterday. So obviously this market can move. There can be some more mature money that comes in later tonight or tomorrow morning. But I would really, really caution the kind of no duh type of behavior that you might see when thinking about Alabama. All right. The next game I want to talk about is LSU Florida. This is a game we have an opinion on. We took an opinion in this game quite early. Market opened at 8, got as high as 9. And you can see ever since Sunday, it's been all Florida money. 9's turned to 8.5, turned to 7.5, now sitting at 7. And so where we sit today is all the market makers have this at 7 across the board. Bookmaker Chris, 7, Pinnacle 7, circa even an expensive +7. So it looks like there's some pressure here to convert those 7s to 6.5s. So don't be shocked if you wake up Saturday and you see Florida +6.5 and all the 7s are taken out. What are we seeing with this game? Well, I will tell you. So let's just give our data a second to load here. But this is an interesting game. We did take an opinion earlier in the week. So you can see spread value. Look at our power ratings. We have Florida over power rated over LSU. You've heard us be low on LSU. We're under their 8.5 wins. We're low on Clemson. You've heard us say that as well. I really want to caution the Florida love here. We have not seen a ton out of this team. I will give you that the strength of schedule for LSU has been a little bit harder than Florida here, but there are reasons that we like Florida. We're going to be looking for Florida to run a lot more than LSU in this game. Now, I don't know if LSU throwing the ball is actually a good thing. The offensive line is really where I think LSU is probably weak. When we look at echo rate over expected, their drives, again, goes in the direction of Florida. Points per echo, Florida is paying off their drives more than LSU. Another key indicator for us. Weighted EPA, almost 2 times the weighted EPA than LSU. These are types of plays that are more correlated with covering, more correlated with winning, so we upweight those plays. Success rate, almost 10% more success rate on offensive plays. When we look to the defensive side of the ball, LSU's defense has been a little bit stronger with a negative EPA. Florida's going to have to step up there. But when we look at rush EPA, they are stopping the run. So this is going to have to be through Nussmeier, where LSU is going to have to win this game. And what else do we see that's interesting? Defensive echo rate over expected, -14. Again, Florida's defense actually doing better job than LSU here. When we look at defensive weighted EPA, these are pretty close, but we do see that, again, Florida's defense is there. So what's our opinion in this game? Probably not a shocker for you all. We really like Florida in this game. We think you can still get some 7.5s in the market here. Let's just give a how can I do this? LSU. Okay. So you can see we make this number about +4. We actually make the true number, ignoring the market, more like -1 Florida. We do think Florida can win this game. We actually got some +9.5s. We gave +9.5 out earlier this week, so we're really sitting quite nice. We think that there's going to be more pressure on this to move through the 7 to the 6.5. We're showing the best number right now is the 7 -105 at BetMGM. Still about a 5% edge if you want to play it. I really would stop playing this after the 7. I really even almost wouldn't play it at 7. I really prefer to get a 7.5 here. Big rivalry game, big game in the SEC, important for, SEC standings. Florida has to bounce back here, right? Napier is fighting for his life, but honestly, Kelly is fighting for his life. They haven't had the hiccups yet, but this could be the first hiccup. I won't be surprised if Florida wins this game, but I really won't be surprised if Florida can cover this game, especially at the 9.5. We're saved by a lot of the overtime outcomes with a 9.5. And, that's another reason why you want to bet early. We were talking about what this market's done, opened at 8, 9.5 at market makers. We actually got a better number than that, 9.5 -105. So, you really want to be shopping and you want to be buying low, right? And that's exactly what we were able to do with this team. But really do like this game quite a lot. Again, really not wanting to play it past the 7.5. The only 7.5 I really see here is at Novig and at FanDuel. We price it obviously against that -22. There's still an edge. So play it how you want, but we do think that there is quite a lot of value in playing LSU. Okay. I actually want to talk to you about what the market makes here. I will say one thing about this game is we are divided. The analytical systems are divided. Massey Peabody makes LSU a 10-point favorite. SP makes them a 2.5 or 2.8 point favorite. FPI makes them an 8-point favorite. This is LSU I'm talking about, and we make them a 1-point dog. So SP plus Bill Connolly and us, we agree. There's a lot of value on Florida. But Massey Peabody, and FPI would disagree. They would say that there's value on LSU, or at least the market got that right at open. So the market is divided on this. Now, obviously, with such a movement, that's more of a data that, by and large, the rest of the market agrees with us. But I did want to point out some other analytical systems that are in disagreement. Okay, next, I want to talk about the Clemson game. I think this is an interesting game. A lot of hype on this game. The market has done some interesting things on this, and let's take a look at the price action. So this opened at 6 at open at Circa. Took money right away from Georgia Tech, moved back to 5.5, got bought back to the 6, then bought back down, and this has pretty much been Georgia Tech money since Sunday, moving from 6 to 5.5, 4.5, 4, 3. Some 3 and 3.5s look to be where the war is going on. And now we're sitting here at 3 minus 120 for Georgia Tech. So don't be surprised if on the other side of Saturday morning, you see Georgia Tech plus 2.5 taking out the key threes. What are we seeing? What's the market seeing in this game? Now, I won't bury the lead. We don't have too much of an opinion in this game, but let's talk about what the data show. All right, so we have a spread value of Clemson of 6.5, Georgia Tech plus 4.3. So again, we think we're in agreement that 6 number was a bit too high based off the power ratings. Where do we see Georgia Tech? Georgia Tech stronger on overall offensive EPA, stronger on rush EPA, pass EPA. Look at that run rate over expected. Georgia Tech throwing the ball or running the ball 4% more than an average team, whereas Clemson's throwing it about 8% more than an average team. I'm not sure that's great based off what we've seen from Klubnik. Look at this. Echo rate over expected. What is the rate of a successful drive over a normal or average team? That means Georgia Tech is getting to the 40 or better at about a 30% higher rate than an average team. That's really big for scoring points, really big for covering. Points per Eckel, Georgia Tech is paying off those drives, almost double the Eckel points per Eckel than Clemson. They're starting the field. Actually, these are pretty poor starting positions for both those teams. Weighted EPA, look at that, 3.1 points added per game versus 0.08. That's big. That's big deal. On the defensive side of the ball, you can see we do think Clemson has the better defense. That's not surprising. Defensive run rate, these teams are trying to pass against Clemson this is pretty much neutral. Those are disturbing numbers, both positive EPAs for Clemson, at least. Georgia Tech's having success stopping the run there. Georgia Tech, this is going to be something they're going to have to work on in this game, and really honestly will come down to if Clemson ends up covering or not. They're giving up 6.2 points per Eckel on defense, meaning when their teams get to the 40 or better, they're giving up 6.2 points on those drives. So that means they're paying off touchdowns, right? They're not holding them to field goals. They're not stopping them. They are scoring touchdowns. So can Georgia Tech do a little bit better there? They're going to need to beat Clemson, in my opinion. And you can see that Clemson defense is holding teams to under a field goal once they get to the 40 or better. And that's a big deal. So this is going to be, immovable force meets unstoppable object kind of thing here. Our opinion on this, I think, is directionally, we're in the direction here of Clemson. Actually, we make this number 3.5. We basically show no edge. I'm surprised. I wonder at the market number at the open what we made it based off that +6. What we liked. Is this a home game for Clemson? No, looks like it's at Georgia Tech. So Massey Peabody makes this a 3-point, about a 2.3 point favorite for Clemson. SP Plus makes this a pick'em. FPI makes this more like Georgia Tech +6, and we made it more like +5. This is, again, ignoring the market. So not surprising at these 3.5 numbers. We're kind of leaning in the direction of Clemson because we thought that open was a good number. Market disagrees, and market's been buying this. So, and there it looks to be pressure on the threes. So I don't know what to tell you. I can tell you that our numbers are going to pop here on Clemson after if the threes get taken out and you get a -2.5, -110. I'm sure our numbers will start to like it. It's that key 5. As long as the market if we make the number 5 and the market's at 2.5, it will show enough threshold for us to bet. I don't know if this is something I'm going to be chasing in the morning. But I think this is starting to get overbought personally. I think we're at the floor here. I think a 3-point outcome probable. And I will say field goal outcomes in college are nowhere near as prevalent as NFL. So I will pump the brakes here. The threes are probably not as key of a number. 3.5s obviously are big for covering by a field goal, but more like +4, +4.5, +5, +6 actually ends up being also a much bigger key number in college football, just because of missed PATs and two field goal wins, things like that. I have no real opinion. I think that the market's starting to be overbought for Clemson at this point. I think it's probably a stay away / at 2.5 -110 or -105 if you can get it for Clemson. It's probably going to be a buy via our numbers. But not something I'm looking to run and bet with a huge clip. All right, I want to do one more market game here. I'm going to turn to the Texas A&M game. I think that this has been an interesting market to take a look at. So market's currently sitting at 6.5. This thing opened at 6, got to 7, and immediately the +7s were taken out for A&M. And it's basically been hovering that 6.5, 7 all week. Currently, as we stand for Texas A&M, 6.5s are the best. Both sides looks like you can get -110 on both of these. So what are we seeing on the data side for both of these teams? Let's pull these in. As our model is loading, remember BTB-Analytics, you can get all of the data for free. What we're pulling up, the tool I'm using here, is completely free. You do not need to pay for it. If you want to use the model that is pricing all of these games using these data, now that does have to be a subscription, and we're winning at 60%. And we continue to believe we'll be able to win at 60% for the rest of the season. But 55 is usually what we aim for, so we'll see what we get. We're seeing CLV on every single one of our plays. We have 7 plays in week 3, and we saw CLV on 100% of them. So the models that we have together, the data that we use are highly not only accurate, but are also good enough to beat markets. And we do beat markets. This will be our 3rd year as BTB Analytics, and this will be our hopefully 3rd year being profitable. You can verify all of our picks on Pickett and BetStamp. Remember, you should always demand that anybody that is giving you this information that claims they're a winner should be able to prove it in an independent, verifiable way. We really like tools like Pickett and BetStamp because they give you the power to audit what we say. Okay. That being said, we kind of like Notre Dame. I'm not going to lie here. That 6.5 number is just not there. We need more like a -4 to play Notre Dame. But let's talk about why. You can see the power rating on offense. We think that Notre Dame is actually the better offense. When we look at a power rating, we think Notre Dame is about 10 points better than Texas A&M. Although Texas A&M has the better pass EPA, Notre Dame has the better rush EPA. Offensive run rate. Both these teams right now are actually looking to be a pass-first team, which is quite interesting. Echo rate over expected. Both these teams positive echo rates over expected, but Texas A&M being a little bit better than Notre Dame. Points per echo. Both these teams are by and large getting touchdowns. Offensive weighted EPA. Texas A&M does take this. And then success rate, these are fairly similar, although Texas A&M is having a little bit better. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, this is where Notre Dame really does pull away. When we look at the power rating, Notre Dame 16.8 points per game versus the 23 points per game in Texas A&M. Defensive pass EPA, this is where Notre Dame has struggled through their first 2 games, which was kind of interesting because they were the #1 pass defense last year. So the question becomes, is this team regressed? They've only played 1 game. And the question right now that we have is, how good is Miami? Because with Carson Beck, we were obviously high on them coming in. We have them to make the playoffs. We have some positions with Miami. And I think it's more of Miami good than Notre Dame being bad. And we're still using a pretty heavy preseason prior going into this game. Now, that might bear out to be a mistake because, again, maybe Notre Dame has lost too much talent, and the reality is that they can't keep up, and they are going to struggle. But as of right now, we're blending what we've seen in week 1 in those plays and what we saw last year in those plays. Their rush EPA goes to Notre Dame in the one game. Pretty neutral on the run rate over expected. Echo rate, again, not something we would show as a positive for Notre Dame. Texas A&M kind of takes the cake here. And then Notre Dame, though, is giving up less points per echo. So they are holding out on drives, and then they do have a better weighted. Actually, they don't, Texas A&M. So I don't know. I think right now, what's driving the numbers here are a lot of the preseason priors. These numbers that we're showing here, when we look at the power rating, should we be weighting these priors lower? And that's a fair question that you want to ask. I can tell you, we don't show enough value to bet this, so we're more close to market. But let's pull it up. Notre Dame, yeah. So you can see we are on the other side of the 7, but we're still showing that only covers about 51% of the time. We really need something like a -4 or -5 in order to play this for Notre Dame. We're showing best market numbers at Bet Rivers -108. That's basically a break-even bet via our numbers. I don't know. Based off that small sample size of 2 games for A&M, there is some reason to believe A&M here could pull the upset, and those 7s all being taken out by the market is within itself some data that the market really does like this Texas A&M team. So I think for me it's a potential stay away, but yeah. All right. So that was the kind of rundown. Now I'll do some Q&A. We'll go over to the TikTok and talk about the games they want to talk about. If you're interested in signing up, btb-analytics.com. Go to the Get Access page. Use code BTB10. You can get 10% off. We're winning 60%, guys. And we'd love to keep it up. All right. Let's do some Q&A. Jared, if you're still here, what up? Hope you're doing well. All right. Houston tonight. No, we're not. We're actually on +6 Colorado. Board doesn't like Nebraska. Board doesn't like Nebraska. Oh, we're the board. I don't think Nebraska plays an FBS team. Yes, they do. Oh no, sorry. Hold on. Maybe they don't. Let me check. This is terrible data. How is Nebraska just better than Akron? And they beat them 68-0. Preseason priors, and it isn't adjusted. This stat is not adjusted for opponent. So it's basically their raw play-by-play data. Jack VP, good to see you again. How's Arizona Wildcats going to do tonight? I'm not sure. Our number's kind of like Kansas State, which is scary because Kansas State has just been a dumpster fire. I don't think Nebraska plays an FBS team. I think they play an FCS team. Yeah. You play at Houston Baptist. So we don't model out FCS teams. Air Force, Utah State. We would be in the direction of Air Force a bit, not enough to play though. We make the number -6 Air Force. No play in North Texas. I don't think we have an opinion on that game. Who does North Texas play? North Texas, Washington State. Interesting. We make the number -6 for North Texas. Sorry, -6. That's unregressed though. We are on Colorado +6. We played it at 6 -110. I don't think you can get a 6. We still do show some value. I don't know. I'm not looking to play it. But, this is also classic adverse selection. So it looks like 4.5 is the best number. I don't know. Hard for me to endorse something that I'm not taking myself, right? Kansas State, yeah, my number is directionally in the Kansas State. What do I make the number? So I'm showing there's this negative edge on both sides. Can't get a 6, can't get a 3.5. Yeah, I'm assuming you got a -3.5. I mean, right? 21. That's like classic market, right? I like it at a certain number, then at some other number you like it, and that's exactly why a market exists, right? Let's just hope. If you got 3.5, I got a 6. Let's just hope we middle, baby. Give me a 4. Give me a Houston -4. Happiest camper in the world. Kansas State tonight. I directionally not as a play. I make this number -2. I think you can get a -1.5. I show that they cover 50.8% of the time. This is an unadjusted stat. So this is just all plays. This is just all plays looking at success rate, ECHL rate, EPA per play. It's non-adjusted. It's not a true power rating. Like it's not going to downplay, talent or things like that. I took Kansas -1. Yeah, I mean, I think directionally you're on the right side. Kansas State. This is at Arizona, right? Yeah. So I make my raw numbers Arizona +3.5 or Kansas State -3.5. The market's interesting on this one. So Massey Peabody makes this -2.5 for Kansas State. I mean, FPI is really the only one with a strong opinion. They make this game -9 for Kansas State. So that would be a major play. When I blend these all, this is something I've been starting to do. I was starting to blend all these projections. We're basically right on market, which makes sense, right? That's basically what a market is all everybody's opinion. Temple, I think I like Temple. We're on Temple. We gave out Temple. I get a 22.5. We played it at 24.5, right? So I'm with you. I'm just sitting in a different spot. I think there's been some buyback, so not too crazy. But I think directionally you're on the right side. Bruce seems to be on the rise, right? I don't know. Yes, relative to last year, I guess if that's what you're looking for. I don't know if they're good. If that's what being on the rise and being good, not necessarily the same thing. What number did you come up with for New Mexico? Remind me who New Mexico plays. I think if they play, I vaguely remember them playing UConn. No, who does New Mexico play? There's a couple of teams I don't have data for, so I can't generate a forecast. And I could have swore they were one of those teams, although I'm not seeing them. This came from btb-analytics.com. UCLA. Is that at UCLA? Oh, yeah, no. I make the number 14.5 is my raw number. The market's pretty concise on this one. 15.5, 15, 14.5, 14.5. Those are the 4 models I have access to. One of those is my model, obviously. So the 15 number is pretty much a good number. I don't know if it's still 15, but that's what it was. I don't have play-by-play data on here for any team that plays FCS this week. I think FSU plays an FCS team. I think -120 is 17.5. Yeah, I mean, if you want 21, go check out the calculator on the website. You can start to price it. I I mean, I guess I don't know what you make the number, but if you make the number 15, a 17.5 is probably not enough. I don't know, especially playing minus 120. I don't know. Again, that's my numbers, and I actually don't even know that. I'd have to check that. If you want to buy, yeah, there you go. I have a bit of a lazy approach to make this graph. I'll be completely honest with you guys. So we don't this isn't how we price games, right? But this is a really cool graph. It helps with the lives, with conversation. So my database, I model the game. So my data looks like Team A, all of their stats, Team B, all of their stats, and then I have every game, every FBS against an FBS team going back to 2015. And and that's how I create the model. I train the model, teaching it on all of those aspects of a game. So this offense going against this defense. So then I write code that then pulls that data apart, puts it like this, and then I can create this. So, basically, long story short, I don't have teams on here that aren't playing a game this week. So that's why sometimes you won't see games on here. I think Oregon is the best team in our power rating. Yeah. When you adjust for opponent, Oregon is the best team, but Ohio State's right behind them. I would almost even not say they're the best. I think they'd say they're almost co-best teams. Do they not? Yeah, I don't know. There could be nuance to it. I also write some code that says if pull weeks 1, 2, and 3, sort these by week, and only give me duplicates. Give me no duplicates. So then BYU doesn't exist for week 3, but it does for week 2 and week 1. It drops week 1, things like that. It's not a perfect system, is all I'm trying to say. But it's ultimately not what we don't use this to model the games, right? So this is just kind of to help the lives. We forecast Nebraska at 7.3 wins. We were leaning toward the under, but not enough to bet. We only had 3 futures that were strong. Okay, so our futures portfolio were under 8.5 wins for LSU, under 8.5 wins for Louisville, over 4.5 wins for Maryland. We got all of those at plus money. And then Miami to make the playoffs at plus 200. And that was those 4 plays. And then we had some opinions in the Big 12. So we bet Arizona State and Kansas State. We talked about BYU. I didn't actually end up pulling the trigger. Obviously, that looks like a mistake now. So that was all of our futures for college that we actually felt strong enough to put money behind. Mizzou looks pretty good. We were on Kansas State last week, which, man, I really do feel like it was the right side. That big run at the end of the game really was hard to swallow. That's classic college football right there. But Bo looks pretty nice. They have that first 6-game stretch is quite easy for them to win. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't shy away from that. LSU under 8.5, not looking good. I disagree. Why is it not looking good? They haven't played one SEC team yet. They beat yeah, shout out. I got it at plus 135, so I got to be right about 45% of the time. Lot of season left. We've been banging the drum. Clemson is not as good as everyone was saying. I think we're going to be vindicated in that as well. Michigan, we don't price totals. All right, so I don't know. I don't have a total for you. Thoughts on Mississippi State win projection for this year? I don't know. I leaned over. I don't remember what it was. We still have all those data on the website for free, John S. Just use the link in the Bible. You can find it on the college page. I think we made it 4.5, and I remember it was 3.5, but we didn't end up betting it. Them in Kentucky. Both those teams we showed value on. Probably should have pulled the trigger, but we have a pretty strict criteria for what we look for. Yeah, only NFL totals. which I'm pissed about. Our model really liked the over last night, and it basically both those field goals get made, we would have went over. It's really frustrating. Yeah, we think there's a ton of value on Florida. I don't like it as much. We gave out a 9.5 earlier in the week. Obviously, sitting here today at a 7, and I won't be surprised if that moves through the 7 by tomorrow morning. But yeah, there's a lot of value on Florida. Yeah, for real. I know. I mean, it is what it is, but it just sucks. We saw CLV. The game script literally played out correctly. It is what it is. Maryland's good, man. Maryland's good. We're not surprised. They have a 5-star quarterback, and he played like it. Arkansas was another one. It didn't meet our criteria. It met our criteria less than even Mississippi State or Kentucky, but yeah. Auburn, I think it's just a neutral game for us. Auburn, make the number 24. Markets, I think is around 24, maybe 26. So stay away from me. Market's pretty close on this. FPI likes South Alabama, and SP Plus kind of likes South Alabama, especially at a 26 number. For me, I have less of an opinion. Yeah, now 24s, so I'm not surprised. Not surprised by that. Primetime under trend. Well, it's 1 and 3, isn't it? Or I guess 2 and 1. I don't know. How many primetime games have there been? We're on Arkansas this week, plus 9.5, minus 105. Now not available in the market. In fact, it's now moved through the 6. Yeah, the 6, 7s are all taken out. It's moved through the 7. There's no more value at it in the current. But yeah, we have a 9.5 Arkansas against Ole Miss. We really like that. Really, really like that play. I would not touch it at the current numbers. Yeah, I don't understand that trend. Whatever, it doesn't matter. How's Nebraska there? Go Big Red. All right, any other specific games you guys want to talk about? No real value in the Kansas State game. Directionally, there we make the raw number minus 3.5. The current market's at 1.5, 2. I wouldn't touch it. There's not enough value. I think you're pretty much betting into a 50-50 market. Should criteria lead to betting more underdogs and favorites generally? Yeah, if you want to speak in generalizations, yeah, in college. In NFL, I would say not as much, more 50-50, maybe even 55-45 favorites. Our methodology, though, is a bit different. We still model all the NFL games, but we model them a little bit different. There's, and it makes sense, right? There's key differences in variables, right? And what's predictive and what's not predictive between NFL and college. But yeah, I would say I'm trying to think. This week we're on a bunch of dogs, right? We're on Arkansas, we're on Florida, we're on Vanderbilt. I think we're only on one favorite. We're on one favorite, but we bet one dog that we thought should have been a favorite and now is a favorite. So I don't know how you consider that one. I think we're only on 1 or 2 favorites. But I'm trying to think. Yeah. This year's been a lot of dogs. I can't, we'll bet like 150 sides in college. So yeah, it's hard to remember all of them. have a Colorado 7.5 and Arizona 4.5 teaser. So at minus 110 or minus 130. Also, college football teasers are not the same as NFL teasers. NU, I don't know what NU is. Nebraska University. I don't. I don't. We don't bet FCS FBS games. No, there's not value on TAMU VR numbers. All right, guys. I think I'm going to leave you with that. Get in there, man. Get in there. 10%. Use BT code BTB10. Get 10% off. We're winning 60%. We want to keep this train moving. We got a lot of plays in the NFL. All of them are still available. College, most of the plays are still available. I think 5 of the 7 still playable. So yeah, get in there, sign up, get that, scratch that itch, but do it in a way where you're gonna actually have a fighting chance. We're limited on books. We got master's degrees in economics. You know, we do this full time. We win. You can verify it independently. So make sure that you know, when you're getting fooled by all these fugazi guys on these apps, the question becomes: can you prove that they win? Can they prove to you that they win? The answer is not. Probably not legit. Also, do they have the skills to be able to win? Right? What makes them be able to model things? What makes them be able to handicap sports? Oh, they just know sports better. Well, remember, you're in a casino, right? You are forced to price out every single one of these games. If you don't know how to price these games, then you can't win, right? It's all about the numbers, not about the teams. So make sure you're finding a partner that can do all of those things for you guys. I'm wishing everybody a wonderful weekend. I hope you have success in your bets and in your free time. And with that, I will leave you to a wonderful Friday. All right, guys, be well. Talk soon.